So this is the disclaimer. I think we don't have a lot of time, so I will skip this disclaimer. You can read it in a silent hour. So before I come to my topics, before I come to the agenda, I will let you know what is LUMMUS, what is LUMMUS active in. And you see the blue part, we are a licensor of different technologies in the petrochemical, refining, gas processing, energy transition. We have about over 150 different processes which are offered for licensing. And not only that, we are offering also equipment, so proprietary equipment, and we mostly produce also the catalysts which are used in these whatever 150 processes. Coming to the green side, we take, with this huge bunch of technologies, we take also the responsibility for being sustainable. Being sustainable means basically a net zero CO2 emission or even a net negative CO2 emission. This is my agenda. First, I will bring you some words, some closer to the relevance in the petrochemical industry of sustainability. Then this is the main topic, LUMMUS Verdine technology suite. And then I will end up my presentation with the NOVOLEN polypropylene gas phase technology. In this Verdine technology, you will see I will focus on the polypropylene mainly. So what is the relevance for the petrochemical industry? You know, you surely have heard of ethylene and propylene, and these are the integral building blocks for the petrochemical industry. On the left, on the right side, you see two diagrams. One is with ethylene, so the consumption of ethylene, the global consumption was 200 million tons per year of ethylene, and on the propylene side, it was 130 million tons of propylene. And you see here the different products which can be produced with ethylene or propylene, and the main consumer of ethylene and propylene are the polymers. And this is, as the name already says, polyethylene. The main part of the ethylene, of polyethylene is ethylene, and polypropylene, obviously the main part is propylene. So, and if you produce these building blocks out of the traditional ways, this means using fossil raw materials, you have a high contribution on the CO2 emission, on the direct and indirect CO2 emission. So, LUMMUS is showing you how you can use, or how you can use a non-traditional way, so a bio-based way, to basically come up with these building blocks and finally produce polymers out of that. And we know the challenges here. The challenges are reduced environmental impact, so reduce the CO2 emission, basically conserve resources, not using fossil resources for our polymers, and also meet regulatory requirements. But at the end here, the industry needs to ensure that they are sustainable. What does this mean? So it seems in the future, if you not follow all these regulations, if you do not pay tax if you use CO2, then you are out of the business. So you will use, surely, market share in your business. For LUMMUS, this means in the petrochemical and in the polymer business. So, and LUMMUS with Verdine is showing you a technology suite for 100% of ethylene and 100% of propylene. And this is leading basically to 100% bio-based polymers. This is now, you see these technologies, all the green technologies, or the green boxes. This is basically technology and processes which are offered by LUMMUS for licensing. The technology suite is called Verdine. Verdine comes from the Spanish verde, means green. I think the Turkish word I learned today is yeşil. So we would say for that ethylene, for example, if we introduce that in the Turkish market. So where does it start? It starts with biomass. So it starts basically with corn, sugarcane, or it could start also with basically residues of the food industry. And even one further generation would be, it's called the third generation, would be algae. So the algae, they are produced in biorefineries, but this is more of a universal startup. So they are still at the very beginning of this third generation biomass. However, with this biomass, with the fermentation process, you basically create ethanol, and with the ethanol, basically then we come to the first technology LUMMUS is offering for licensing, and this is the ETE evergreen technology. ETE means ethanol to ethylene. So if you go through this process, you basically have created the first building block for polymers, and this is the direct way to our HDPE, which is called Xene HDPE, high-density polyethylene, out of 100% bio-based material. The next steps, you might wonder how we come to the propylene, because propylene is the second most important building block for the polymers. So you see that we need to go through an OTS, metathesis process, and a dimerization or isomerization process. And this only while having ethylene. So this means for the dimerization, you take basically 2 molecules of ethylene and generate the butenes with 4 C atoms. And out of the dimerization, you combine basically the ethylene and butylene and create basically in the OCT or metathesis project, you create or generate 2 molecules of propylene. And this propylene is then basically our building block for the NOVOLEN PP unit, so 100% PP-based polypropylene. And the other route is going using propylene over the acrylic acid route. You can produce basically also 100% SAP, which is superabsorbed polymers. So this is the route. So you see, this is all 100% biopolymer, but so you are reserving the resources. You do not use resources, not using fossil-based resources and raw materials. But what is more important is also the contribution on the CO2 emission. And this, going back here, going back, this here, I put out here the NOVOLEN process. From the beginning, from the corn, the first generation corn and sugarcane, up to the bio-based NOVOLEN. This is we have gained a first license in the US company, and the company who will build these technology suite is called Citronics. I'm sure you will read in the future more about this Citronics and 100% bio-based propylene, polypropylene. So this is again the route here from ethanol to bio-based polypropylene. And what is the corn using, or what does the green plant use? They use basically sunlight as energy, water, and CO2. So they will harvest or they will draw out CO2 from the environment and basically store it in the green plants. With the fermentation process, we create ethanol, and then we go into, with our 4 technologies, up to the polypropylene. So I will show you now, these are the building blocks. I think we can jump over that. Maybe the last one. This is from propylene. You see the biopropylene to the biopolypropylene. Using a catalyst will create these chains with different length, basically defining the melt flow rate or the viscosity of the final polymer. This is now very interesting. This is showing a comparison between the Verdin PP, so the bio-based PP, and the traditional way to produce polypropylene. In the bio-based, again, you collect water, so the plants collect water, CO2, so you consume, basically the plants store the CO2 in the structure. There are then two processes, the ethanol and the Verdin process is showing only in a short thing. You basically emit again some minor parts of CO2 because for the polymerization you use obviously steam in some cases, but also you use energy for the polymerization. So there is a slight CO2 emission into the atmosphere back. However, the most of the CO2 is sequestered in the polymer itself. Contrary to that, this is the traditional way based on fossil hydrocarbons. This is coming then from oil, naphtha, LPG, or methane. You use converting technologies like the FCC, fluid catalytic cracking, PDH. This is a propane dehydrogenation process to produce basically out of hydrocarbons the propylene, which is again base for the polypropylene. But here, as you can see, you only have emissions to the atmosphere. So there is no bio part in this traditional way. So this means in the cracker, PDH, MTO, you consume electricity, you have a direct emission when you make heaters, you have a direct emission of CO2. And there is no sequestered CO2 in the final polypropylene. Here we came up with some calculations. We are comparing here the feedstock, here sugarcane and corn. The root you know now, this is the Verdin technology, and we compare it to a fossil feedstock for PP. And here we used the propane, which is then going through a PDH, propane dehydrogenation process, to propylene, and then basically to polypropylene. We have considered the emission scope 1, 2, and 3, and these emission scope, these include basically even also the biomass production and the transportation to the different units. It includes also the propane production via the PDH and the transportation. It includes fuel burning, a direct emission, and indirect emission like the electric power and also the steam generation. And if you go to the right side here on the top diagram, you see basically the balance of the corn and the comparison of the corn to PP versus the fossil or traditional way to produce PP. And you see we have taken here as an equivalent unit size 500 kilotons PP unit. This is a normal PP unit size which we have nowadays. And you see here, looking to the corn has basically a net zero CO2 emission into the atmosphere compared to the traditional way, which is around 700 kilotons CO2 per year emitted into the atmosphere. On the lower, basically we see the same result of the fossil, of the traditional way, but here the sugarcane has even a net negative impact on the CO2 emission. So you basically sequester or get out CO2 from the ambient. So Verdin is basically a technology suite which can provide a net negative impact on the CO2 emission. I go further here. This is now the NOVOLEN process where you can produce bio-based polypropylene. Obviously, this technology is not only usable for bio-polypropylene or for bio-propylene to polypropylene. You can use also the traditional way. And this is also normally the NOVOLEN process is used for with the traditional way. And we hope that the future will go more direct into the Verdine future. And here you see it already with this process, a very compact process here. We have here the reactor, a very small reactor. It's a gas phase process. It's a very compact reactor, so there is not a lot of gas in the reactor. So if there is an emergency stop, we have to flare the gas, the monomer, to the flare, burning it. But due to the very low and very compact design of the reactor, these flaring is very limited only. And with the NOVOLEN process, we have about 60 to 90% lower hydrogen losses to flare compared to other technologies. And more important is also, this is a very easy process here. Reactor needs agitating, needs electric power. The extruder needs also electric power, but all in all, the balance is that the NOVOLEN process, what you see here, has a very low energy consumption. And this means the equivalent CO2 emission is the lowest of all polypropylene processes you can see and have available for licensing. I want to go back. These are some products for polypropylene you can produce. Caps enclosure is very important in Turkish market here. We spoke, or I heard already, the hygiene market. Diaper and personal care articles are very important for produced out of nearly 100% polypropylene with super absorber absorbing the liquid. So you see, I told you before that it's not only the polypropylene you can have as so 100% bio-based, it's also the super absorber, which is included into the diaper, is also 100% bio-based. Then here are some bottles and so on, and you see that the range of the NOVOLEN process is capable to cover all products in polypropylene, homopolymer, random polymer, and impact copolymer. You might ask, impact copolymer, okay, this requires a different monomer, but the monomer building block is again ethylene and butylene, which comes from the same source, from the ethanol source or the biomass source. So also these kind of products, copolymer and impact copolymer with rubber, they are also 100% bio-based. And this brings me to the end, to the conclusion of my presentation here. So LUMMUS has a very unique portfolio providing bio-based building blocks for the whole petrochemical industry and for the whole, or for a huge part, the most important part of the polymer industry, of the plastic industry. And with these polymers, we gain, or we have reached a target of net zero or even net negative CO2 emission. And the combination to a process, a PP process, which is consuming a very low energy and nearly no steam, I think the combination brings us to the future being more sustainable and being more green in terms of technology. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Çok teşekkür ediyoruz Mr. Wittner'a. Bu arada bir sorum olacak. Ankoç'um. Birazdan sunumlar almaya devam edeceğim. Ancak bir soru var kendilerine. Bildiğim kadarıyla Citroen'le bir anlaşma imzalamışsınız. 2027'de...
Wait.
Citroen bir anlaşma imzalanmış. 2027'de yes, tesisleriniz tamamlanacak diye biliyorum ben. Bu yatırımlarla ilgili biraz önce sunumda da çok güzel anlattınız hikayeyi. Başka kıtalarda, başka ülkelerde yatırımlar düşünüyor musunuz? Onu merak ediyorum. Çünkü yeşil dönüşüm dedik, polimer dedik, plastik maddesi dedik ve insanlar şu an BPA kullanılmayan ürünlere çok yönelik hassasiyetleri var. Bu bölge içerisinde, bu bölge için ne düşünüyorsunuz? Onu merak ettim.
So in this region, it's US. The Citronics is starting with one unit. The unit is a 400 kiloton unit, but they have more units, up to 4 units in the plan. So this is the US. There's a lot of sugarcane and corn, and with the declining of the ethanol usage in the automotive industry, this will grow more and more, not only in US. We expect that also in other parts of the world. These Verdine technology will be used and basically produce green plastics.
Thank you.